Many questions still remain about the deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife. Hackman won 2 Oscars. This week their bodies were found in their home in New Mexico. In the dark corners of Gene Hackman's estate, a scary story begins to take shape. The last phone call Betsy Arakawa had with her mother was more than just a chat. There are still questions and motivations that haven't been answered. What secrets did they share in those last moments? As the truth comes out, a shocking story comes to light. Follow us as we explore the mystery's many turns and twists. What did Betsy Arakawa do? Betsy Arakawa had an interesting life before she married Gene Hackman, even though her name isn't as well known as her husband's. She was born in Hawaii in 1961 and has loved music all her life. She wasn't interested in fame or the flash of Hollywood. Instead, her speech came through the piano. That's how she learned to play the piano, and she spent years getting better at it. The disciplined, accurate, and truly emotional way she played the piano showed that she knew who she was as a person and as a musician. She could act in high-class places because she was good at what she did, but she didn't care what other people thought. She loved music just because it was beautiful. As for making a living in professional classical music, it was tough because there were a lot of people in it. Betsy did other things over time until she co-owned a small friendly bookstore in Santa Fe, New Mexico. There were lots of nice books in the store. Books and music were mixed there, and she could follow her art love without having to deal with the stress of the entertainment business. Betsy had a strong, passionate and meaningful life, even though she wasn't well known. She met Gene Hackman in the early 1980s, but it didn't look like they would end up together. He was a great actor who was known for playing serious, no-nonsense parts. She was almost 30 years younger than him. As an artist and quiet person, she had never really fit in with Hollywood's busy scene. But it wasn't just age or job that made them fall in love. In Betsy, Gene liked how calm and steady she was. His first marriage was a mess, and they had 3 kids together. Along with the ups and downs in his personal life, fame had made him tough over the years. But Betsy brought him something different. She wasn't turned off by his fame or past like a lot of other women might have been. She didn't just look at how he looked. She wasn't really interested in his Oscars or well-known roles. Everyone saw the man, and he was getting older, having self-doubt, and having trouble getting along with his family. This made her worry. Their love quickly faded. Was Betsy Gene's partner, but she also became his rock. She helped him get away from the attention Star Wars got. They weren't trying to get away when they moved to Santa Fe. They had a new start. They liked music, books and quiet times away from the noise of work. What makes Betsy different from many Hollywood partners is that she never wanted attention. She wasn't the type to stand on the red carpet or talk to people for jobs. No one should be able to see her private life, and she protected theirs. Her life wasn't easy just because she was born. There were some tough times when she was married to the great actor Gene Hackman. Gene's attitude was known to be harsh, but it was less so as he aged. This was especially true when he was acting. He was angry, and the way his family used to work was hard to understand. Tessie was more than just his wife. She also helped him deal with his feelings, watched over him, and connected him with the outside world. On top of that, she cared about the little but important needs of other people. For those who worked at her bookstore, she baked banana bread and left it in the break room without any notes. She knew everyone's birthday, and made sure they felt important. They always remembered how nice she was, even though she wasn't loud or flashy. She was nice, but she was very careful about her personal life. She only gave short answers when other people asked about Gene. Some say she did it because she loved him. Some people think she was hiding something important that at the time no one could have found out. Most people never paid attention to Betsy's ability to keep people safe. While being pretty and quiet, she kept a close eye on Gene, especially as he grew up. As Gene aged, he lost track of things. His friends could tell that he wasn't as mean and dangerous as he used to be.
You'd see the changes before anyone else.
She planned his days, watched over his health, and knew who came and went from their lives. Chris Hackman, Gene's son, was the person she was most scared of. It had been years since they had talked to each other, and things were bad between them. Christopher had issues with his own life, and was mad about his dad's second marriage. He was also having trouble with money. Betsy tried for a long time to bring them together, and help them get along. Things changed for her as time went on though. When Christopher came to visit Tessate, the house became tense. People called Betsy late at night, showed up at her house without warning, and had strange talks that made her feel bad. She began writing down what took place. She changed the locks and keys, put up secret cameras, and kept an eye out for strange behavior. She wrote this awful note in her daily book just a few days before she died. When they woke up, she heard the back gate shut. "A lot more dogs are barking. I'm sure it was him. He's looking around the house. Jean is still not going to see it. I can't make him."
One word.
The phrase "I can't make him" says more about a person than any interview or post. Betsy thought something was wrong. She found the warning signs. She did stay though. Some people think that love can keep them safe on its own, since Betsy Arakawa is known for being strong and nice, but if you stay quiet, you might not be safe. There were red flags about Christopher Hackman's actions. Was he after more than just Jean's money? Find out the scary truth here. The cloud that is growing over the Hackman home. It was always bad between Christopher Allen Hackman and his dad. As Gene Hackman rose to fame in Hollywood, he spent a lot of time on set and not much time at home. Christopher thought his dad was cold and that he was better at being a tough guy on TV than showing love in real life. No one else thought he was an actor though. They never got along with each other. It got harder for them to feel close as Gene's business took off. Chris was already an adult when Gene met Betsy Arakawa. He saw her as more than just his dad's second wife. She was someone who had come into his dad's life that he himself could never have. Chris was even more mad that Gene and Betsy are not the same age. She looked like she could be his sister, but she was in charge of a man he still didn't get. This relationship set the stage for years of tense silence, miscommunication, and mild aggression. Chris was having a rough time with his personal life. A lot of people couldn't see that he was having problems in his personal life, like businesses that didn't work out and unstable funds. Christopher never quite found his place in life, while his father had a strict routine and clear goals. He grew to hate Gene and by default, Betsy more as they fought. Money became a big reason for fights. Gene Hackman was very wealthy, because he was an actor, made smart investments, and owned a lot of real estate. Christopher thought that since he had never been as good as his dad, he should get a piece of his dad's money. Gene was the only son of his father, so he thought Gene should give him more money, but Betsy stopped him. There are many stories about angry fights, claims, and repeated requests for money that were turned down over the years. Christopher told his father that he owed him money because he had been his shadow as a child and not cared about him mentally for so many years. Betsy always stood by her husband and didn't want to give him money, but Gene wasn't the type to give in when he was pushed. Things got even worse when Betsy got so involved in Gene's business. She watched over their savings, ran the business, and made sure their things were safe. Christopher thought this was an attempt to keep him from getting his reward. Family fights turned into much scary and more upsetting things as the stress level rose. Strange things began to happen to friends and staff. Chris would sometimes just show up at the Hackman house late at night. He could wait in the garage, sit outside for hours, or sneak inside without being caught. Many people say that small but expensive items and family heirlooms have gone missing from their homes. Things like paintings, gold, and even letters from Gene's late mother have been stolen. Betsy was usually calm, but she started to feel very uneasy. She began to double-check security routines, tell staff to be more alert, and write down in great detail about events that didn't seem right. I remember her telling some of her friends that she was beginning to think she was being watched, followed, or even filmed. Late one night, the maid found a small camera hidden near the front door of the house. Not a single thing had ever been this scary. It wasn't there before. It was unknown who put it there, or how it got there. What Betsy found made her mad. Christopher had seen them, right? Was he getting details, and waiting for a chance to act? Betsy was careful all the time, but now she was extra careful. She had her hair cut. She put cameras around the house, in a few different spots. She started to record everything, even the weirdest phone calls and moments. There was a problem that she didn't know how to fix. She told close friends that she was scared but didn't want Gene to be scared too. He was getting older, so she didn't want anything to bother him. But behind closed doors, she was planning to go to court and get ready for the worst that could happen. So that she would be safe in case things got worse, she had even started to talk to a lawyer about stopping the abuse. Gene would never think that his son was dangerous. He thought Christopher was just having a rough time and getting lost. His body wouldn't let him do something risky. That was not clear to Betsy. In times of need, anger or upset, she knew that people could cross lines they didn't mean to. A few days before her death, Betsy had one last talk with her mother. Many close to the family say the talk felt very important, but no one really knows what was said, because she was getting more and more stressed. Did Betsy want to calm down? She might have been telling someone to pay attention before it was too late. There is no doubt that what she said on that last call could have been the key to everything going on afterward. We find out what Betsy is afraid of. Betsy Arakawa knew something was different at her house in the months before she died. It wasn't being paranoid. In the pit of her stomach, she felt something very strong. The house wasn't as quiet as it used to be. She heard strange sounds at night, like soft knocks that went away and footsteps that shouldn't have been there. The moving shadows next to the windows went away when she turned on the lights. Betsy couldn't ignore what was going on, but she wasn't the type to get too upset. In a personal notebook, she began to write down her fears. Everything that she heard and saw was written down. She wrote down times, dates, places, and sometimes even how the air felt in the evenings. Were anyone looking at her? After a while, staff confirmed that Betsy had said she was scared for her safety and felt like she was being watched all the time, days and nights. It was clear that the cams she put in didn't record anything, but she still seemed to be being watched. Something or someone was still there, but you couldn't see them. The evening changed everything. The Hackman house called for help at the end of 2023. It's still not clear what the call was about, but we now know one huge fact. A man was seen near the back window, according to the report. The person at the other end of the line could hear Betsy's worry in her voice. It was a short call, but the meaning was clear. She wasn't seeing things.